I'm Scott Larsen, Vice President of Engineering here at Biomerics. I oversee the new product development team, and I have a medical device experience for over 30 years. So new product development at Biomerics entails us working with our customers to develop a new product. And typically with new product development, it's a full device, and we take it from concept, which is an initial idea, to regulatory approval to launch. And this involves a stage gate process known as design control, or we call it the NPD process. It's a stage gate process that's known throughout industry. But the one thing that's important to point out is it has multiple stages which are FDA mandated in order to be able to submit to the FDA, get approval and launch. Depending on the product type and the scope the customer wants to work with us on, we can scale. And what scaling means is we actually take out portions of that for various reasons, which greatly reduces the timeline and allows us to launch the product faster. So again, the partnership is very critical when it comes to new product development with us and our customers for many reasons. A big reason is because as we go through the stage gates of that process, even while we're working on it, we can decide, oh, we can scale that out, we don't need it, or there may be things that get added as part of that process. And this is why it's critical to be in constant and honest communication with our customer throughout the whole process. So here at Biomerics, how our vertical integration is so important to new product development. And it's actually one of the things that excites me most about Biomerics and offers us a huge advantage is our vertical integration actually puts us in control of our overall supply chain. So what that means is we are in control of all of our components. So as we're developing a new product, we can get all of our components from inside. We do all the top assembly, the packaging, and the final shipping to our customer because of the vertical integration. And the benefits that allows us to have, we can react very quickly to any changes that come across during an NPD project. It allows us to have rapid turnaround on build requirements. And it also allows us to control costs and offer cost savings to our customers. The speed to market or the speed turnaround on product is a couple things. So when it comes to prototypes, and prototypes is kind of that concept phase, it's how we initially get involved in a project, start working with customers on different iterations. Customer expectation is maximum 10 days. So essentially 2 working weeks. And how we work with the customers is if we have the inventory from across Biomerics, if we have the inventory on site for the different components that go into that prototype, we can turn it around 10 days full stop. What a customer wants is they want something in their hands, they want something they can play around with, they want something to test. And then in parallel to that, we will find out actual dimensions of the product, and then we will either order it usually in-house and get those components in-house that meet the right requirements from a prototype perspective. Now, when it comes to speed to market overall launch, depending on the project, but a typical full device NPD project is anywhere from 18 to 24 months. When a customer comes to us with a new idea, it typically starts with one or two ways. One is sometimes we'll get an idea and we start the partnership immediately. And what I mean by that is we'll have engineers sit with their engineers, and that leads into prototype. So our initial phase is called a concept phase, or we'll get an idea where there's an initial print, like an early level print or drawing the customer will come to us with. It's something we can start with. And in most cases, even when we sit down, because customers come to us for expertise as well as capacity, or we'll get an idea where there's an initial print, like an early level print or drawing the customer will come to us with. It's something we can start with. And in most cases, even when we sit down, because customers come to us for expertise as well as capacity, so we'll sit down and we'll have a certain expertise that either complements the customer or frankly, they don't have. And so it helps us to look at the drawing. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? We like to be proactive in offering suggestions to our customers. With the concept, once we do that, there's usually a handful of design options. We'll build prototypes for those options. Again, within that 2-week time frame, depending on the material. And from there, we will do the testing with the customer. In some cases, they'll do the testing themselves. And once it gets down to 1 or 2 design choices, we'll typically move into our next phase, which is called feasibility phase. And so the feasibility phase is where we'll do additional testing, like kind of more hardcore testing, bench as well as animal testing for the full devices, component testing. And then there's a thing called pre-DV. So DV is design verification. There's a design validation, which our customers typically do with their doctors. We'll do the design verification. In order to reduce risk of freezing the design and doing design verification, we do this thing called pre-DV. Almost everybody does it, everybody understands what it is. We go into our design qual phase, and that's where what's called design freeze. So we, along with the customer, will freeze the design, and then we'll do the full design verification on that design. And what that means is there's specific performance requirements that are usually dictated in what's called a customer user requirements document, which comes from their customer as well as in regulatory. We'll go through the full gamut of build and test on design verification, and that's to prove that the design that was chosen meets or exceeds all the performance requirements for that design. And so once we pass design verification, then the next phase, we gotta get into process validation, which is a regulatory submission, and ultimately launch. Again, and the nice thing about it is it's a stage gate process. It's FDA mandated, it's called design controls. All med device knows we have to do it. The NPD group stays on top of current trends and technologies in a couple ways, actually a few ways. The one that I like the most is I'm very passionate about new technology being offensive as Biomerics from a technology perspective. And that all comes down to technology roadmaps. What that allows for is we have our idea of current technology. We all have our own networks. There's other ways to get intel. And that allows us to have a certain kind of starting point based on customers we're currently working with. This is where we're thinking about in the future based on TCT, HRS, whatever, or discussions we've had in the past. Are we in the right ballpark? And the thing is, at least we have something to show the customer and it gets us talking. And the best case is if we come with that technology roadmap and samples. Here's what we're thinking about, and here's some samples we've tried. What do you think? And I'm telling you, from my experience, it just opens the door because engineers like talking to engineers. We understand each other. So it opens the door. Sometimes they'll bring samples. That voice of customer is so critical for us because then I can propose investment opportunities to the business that we can invest, that we can come with either better prototypes, and we can tailor those technology roadmaps to specific customers. So when we go to them, they know we're tailoring it to those customers. The competitive advantage Biomerics is being vertically integrated is that we control our own supply chain. Here's a great example. When a customer comes to us with an endoscope, we have our IGI team, which allows the camera and the electronics at the tip of the scope through the handle. We have the NPD team in Brooklyn Park, the plastics team, which allows us the extrusion, the complex durable device, which ends up being the shaft. We have plenty of metals components within that scope, which we can use our metals business. So we have coating abilities. So what that does, again, being allowed our whole supply chain, is it allows us to quickly show customers prototypes. We can react, we can get this 2-week prototype delivery. We can build prototype scopes from a drawing on a cocktail napkin to the actual scope, but we can deliver the customer, which is close enough, which allows us, again, in that concept phase for the customer to take the scope, to keep this example going, and do the testing that the customer needs. It also allows us to control cost. It allows us to control lead time. It allows us to control build time. And therefore we can pass on not only speed to market, but we can pass on cost benefits to the customer. From an NPD process evolution perspective in the future, I would say so from the past, I think of Biomerics as well as other companies, the actual design control stage gate process itself hasn't changed that much. There's specific deliverables that need to be submitted to regulatory, but what has changed, and I've really noticed here at Biomerics, is we've just gotten a lot better at it. And what we mean by getting a lot better at it, a big piece is the vertical integration. Anything that allows us to hit the performance requirements for our customer from a design perspective, hit highly capable processes so it's predictable on-time deliveries and operations and production, and in order to allows us to have some cost reduction, which vertical integration here at Biomerics allows us to do all of those things. But the other thing is we have done a really good job here at Biomerics in hiring the right people and focusing the right departments on specific product types that we get when our customers come to us, whether it be a component or whether it be a full device. On the NPD side, as I mentioned, we do scopes, we do complex steerable catheters, a multitude of guide wires, a multitude of different products, and we have subject matter experts in each of those areas, in addition to program/project managers who can be kind of the one technical contact. You know, I hear a lot when customers come, it's Biomerics is huge. You have so many different sets, so many different things. I don't want to talk to all of those people. Who's the one person I can talk to in addition to my commercial contact? That's our project or program managers. And then those people kind of have what are called core teams internally. They have the right functional subject matter experts and the right execution people that they can meet with our customers. Once we start working with the customer and we find out what the design is that the customer's looking for, we'll look across Biomerics and we will look what makes sense to include automation. What we want to do is we want to take advantage of anything that helps us to deliver the right product to the customer faster and at a lower cost. And if that's automation, we're going to use it. Challenges do come up as part of the NPD process. For example, if a customer wants to speed up a project timeline that we've already agreed to and communicated to, it's a scope change. And we have to communicate to that customer in order to speed up the project. We may need to add another resource or two, which is going to make the project more expensive. And from a performance perspective, sometimes we'll run into product failures. They just happen for different reasons. And again, that's the communication piece. This is why it's critical. We have our project managers, we have our project teams in weekly, if not more, communication with the customer. And if something happens, you don't wait till the next meeting. We're contacting the customer immediately. When I worked at Boston Scientific, I was on the Express Stent design team. And not too long after that stent was launched, my father-in-law had a heart attack and he got 6 Express stents implanted into him. So it saved his life. From the early days, I've had a very personal connection because of that. And from a Biomerics organizational perspective, I think more and more our employees, it's either themselves or they have family members that are going to be impacted and whose lives are going to be improved and or saved by the devices that we develop and manufacture here at Biomerics. Having that personal perspective, especially if you've been involved with a family member yourself, just adds a whole new perspective on all the work that we do here at Biomerics. The value that resonates most with me is partnership. And the reason for that is partnership is how we get things done. Whether it's with our internal employees, whether it's with our customers, or whether it's with our external suppliers. There's no better way to win and keep business and win future business is for our customers to see us as partners versus suppliers. And from that perspective, it's on the NPD side with engineers, it's engineers working with engineers. We've had situations at Biomerics where our customers' engineering teams are closer with us than they are with their fellow engineering teams at that customer location. And this allows us to have that communication to take our new products as we develop them through the different stages from concept, whether it be a sketch on a cocktail napkin or a whiteboard or an initial print, through all the stages, get regulatory approval, and launch.